So anyway, with that being said, let's get back into the news. I apologize for that detour. Again, I did not anticipate that occurring today. So, with that being said, let's talk about Joe Manchin. So I want to remind everyone a little bit of a history lesson. So in early 2021, you know, the year, a lot of stuff has happened in 2021 so far, but at some point in 2021, the most popular legislation in decades was passed, and that was the American Rescue thing from President Joe Biden. And during this package, Joe Manchin, senator from West Virginia, said that people making $80,000 a year are too wealthy. They're too wealthy to be getting stimulus checks. Too wealthy for stimulus checks if you make $80,000 a year. Rather, if you made $80,000 a year in 2018 or 2019, right? Maybe you lost your job and haven't filed taxes yet. Whatever. They don't care. So now Joe Manchin, after saying $80,000 a year is rich kids. Those are like the richest of the rich. They're going to Ivy League schools. They're super duper rich. After saying that, Joe Manchin is at it again, folks. Senator Joe Manchin 3, I didn't know that Joe Manchin was a 3, that's crazy, said on Monday he opposes a key part of the White House infrastructure plan as early objections across the political aisle threatened to cloud the fate of the $2 trillion proposal. Speaking on a West Virginia radio station, Manchin said he would vote against President Biden's proposal to raise the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%, instead saying the tax rate should be set at 25%. Even if all other Democrats support the plan, Manchin's opposition would likely be enough to kill it because the Senate is split 50-50 between Democrats and Republicans. So again, $80,000 a year, richy rich, rich, rich. But then, on the other hand, corporations, oh, well, they're the little guy. What about those little, like, you know, poor, impoverished corporations that are paying $0 in tax rates because of legal loopholes? What about them? We all know that those people in West Virginia surviving on $80,000 a year 2 years ago before losing their job, they're way too wealthy. They're good enough to retire and feed their family for generations. We all know that. But those corporations, oh! A 28% would just be too much. Like, it's just, what? What? Like, again, it's bizarre. It's fucking crazy. So this guy is just like, again, he's out of control. But someone on, you know, in the world is trying to control him in some capacity. And so yesterday, I believe this was yesterday, Senator from another state, Vermont, Bernard Sanders, went on the Mehdi Hasan show and said that, you know, he's willing to go to West Virginia to campaign against Joe Manchin's stupid garbage. And we saw that Joe Manchin says a lot of things and then changes his mind. He does a lot of 180s. He kind of just loves being in the news because he's an attention whore. And so, like, let's see what Bernie Sanders has to say about this scenario.
Just on Joe Manchin, you say you support getting rid of the filibuster, but Senator Joe Manchin has said he won't agree to that. He doesn't back a $15 minimum wage increase. He doesn't back the 28% corporate tax rate that's proposed. When you were running for president, you said you would go to West Virginia and rally working people there against Senator Manchin, look, pressure him to do the right thing. Hold on. Let me just ask the question.
Real quick, I'm trying to scratch my lip with my teeth in case you're wondering what that awkward face was.
Let me just ask the question, Senator. Do you think President Biden should pressure Joe Manchin in the way you said you would, or will that just make him defect to the Republican Party, some people say?
First of all, talk to Joe Manchin, but second of all, there is a lot of work being done internally in terms of bringing the Democratic caucus together. Once again, we passed the most significant piece of emergency legislation, which, among other things, will cut childhood poverty in half. I expect that the second reconciliation bill will be very profound in creating millions of good-paying jobs. And by the way,
I hope
I'm going to do everything that I can, along with others, in making sure that we do pass that $15 an hour minimum wage.
Understood.
As well
but
as
you support internal pressure. But you support internal pressure on Joe Manchin, not publicly going to West Virginia and calling him out, as you said.
Well, I think there are a variety. I have no problem with going to West Virginia, but I think we need a grassroots movement that makes it clear to Joe Manchin and everybody else in the United States Senate including Republicans, that the progressive agenda is what the American people want. They want to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour. They believe that health care is a human right, should be universal. They demand that the rich start paying their fair share of taxes. These are not my ideas. This is what the American people want right now. And our job is to rally the American people in every state in this country to make sure that the government starts working for the working class of this country, not just the 1%.
So that's where the clip ends. You can go watch the full interview if you want. There's some other clips I've seen. I debated talking about them today, but maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But yeah, so Bernie Sanders is going out there making it clear that Joe Manchin has no leg to stand on other than the fact that, of course, corporations funnel money into his campaign. So why would Joe Manchin be afraid of people protesting in West Virginia when people do not fund his, seat in the Senate? I'm just throwing that out there. But at the same time, Bernie's going on there basically saying Joe Manchin is a loser, and he says he has no problem going to West Virginia. I want him to go a lot further than that. I want him to... now, if there was an alternate universe where Bernie Sanders did the same thing that Joe Manchin did, but, for the reverse, I'd be heavily supportive of that. And that's the thing, is that Joe Manchin and any one of these Democrats could be the Joe Manchin, right? But Joe Manchin has just slid himself into that position. Same thing with Sinema and so forth. But if we could have Democrats like Bernie, or let's throw a bone out there. Let's, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, where are y'all? Come on, Amy Klobuchar, come on, y'all, aspiring presidential candidates. Any of them could hold up legislation and get a lot of cool points in the media for similar things to what Bernie would do if he were to do this. And that's what I think that we need to do. Instead of just giving in on Joe Manchin's hostage fucking situation, we should have everyone else retract from the bill. As far as I'm concerned, the American Rescue Plan was a must-pass package. I think the infrastructure plan isn't as much of a must-pass. I would not be necessarily concerned if it took an additional 6 months for this to get passed, if the bill itself is much better at the end of those 6 months. Obviously, we need infrastructure overhaul right now. We need it immediately, right? But if you've got people like Joe Manchin coming in, that's going to make things a little difficult, right? But at the same time, again, if Bernie and other so-called progressive Democrats were to play hardball, I think that could make for an interesting conversation. And could it sink the infrastructure plan? Maybe. But that's, at that point, up to Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden has to say, do I agree with Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, or do I agree with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren? By the way, both of those two people, helped me win the primary. Elizabeth Warren basically making it impossible for Bernie to win, and then Bernie dropping out and doing everything for him to win the general. Right? So who does Joe Biden side with on that instance? I don't know. I say we put that option on the table. And that's what I would pressure Bernie Sanders to do. And if you live in a state like Massachusetts or whatever, call up Elizabeth Warren. Tell her to hold up the legislation for something, right? That's what they should be doing. It shouldn't just be the conservatives that are holding up legislation. It should be everybody. And so that's my estimation of this situation, and I hope Bernie does play hardball. I am not anticipating that he will play hardball. And Kamala Harris went to West Virginia once. Let's see if she'll do it again. She's vice president now. I mean, sure, she lets people in the White House get fired for marijuana use when she has used marijuana, admittedly, in the past. Sure, she campaigned on decriminalizing marijuana and just forgot about it and ignored it. But maybe she hasn't forgotten that she pretended to be a progressive senator from California. So maybe she'll go out there, go to West Virginia, join Bernie Sanders, and do some cool stuff. But I doubt it. And again, I don't necessarily have a problem with the infrastructure bill being held up, assuming the bill at the end of it is better. If it turns out to be worse, if it gets delayed, and it gets delayed for the worse, then that's a serious problem. But fuck Joe Manchin. All my homies hate Joe Manchin. And also some people that aren't my homies also hate Joe Manchin. And so we have like a unique, cross-party deal here where everyone just fucking hates Joe Manchin. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, that's what I think.